The first entry in Project Red has reached its conclusion, so it's time to talk about it. Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and before I talk about Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity, please let me know what you thought of this show down in the comment section. If you liked it, didn't like it, somewhere in between. If you've seen the original Gavan, I have not still, so just keep that in mind that my decisions on any of this will not really be informed on any nostalgia or anything like that. I did catch a few references, but nothing that really swayed my opinion in any direction. Just to inform you where I'm coming from with all this. I will say that my opinion on this show is overall positive. I had a enjoyable time watching it, but I do have a lot of kind of somewhat big issues with it. I guess I'll just get into right now. And I feel like the show never reached its biggest potential with its premise. The premise being that we have different Gavan across the multiverse in these different dimensions acting independently. When the show was first announced, I thought one of the cool things was that each Gavan existed in their own universe and had their own side cast of sorts. So like each one could, it kind of felt like they were setting up each one to function like its own sort of different show. Like Infinity had his own set of characters, Luminous had her own set of characters, etc. And I think that was cool. Like, it was nice going to all these different dimensions and seeing how different they were. And for the first few episodes, that was the cool part. Like, exploring all these different dimensions, seeing all the different things. The issue for me is that as the show went on, it felt like they kind of kept spinning their wheels and just retreading those same ideas in all of these different dimensions. Like, it felt like a lot of the focus episodes on Bushido and Luminous were kind of doing the same sort of arc almost. Luminous is friends with Kiki and Koto, or more than friends. Bushido's sad. Like, they kind of kept doing that. They kept going in the same order to go through those episodes. And, like, at least I feel like part of these ensemble toku shows are like, you want to see these different focus episodes or character moments or whatever, and like every Bushido episode would be about Bushido and maybe Gavan Infinity, or Luminous episodes would be about her and Gavan Infinity. Like, I felt like having Infinity be this focal point, traveling to different dimensions, somehow made the show less vast in its multiverse capabilities. Like, I felt like we always had to do something with Infinity, and I know that he wasn't always like the focus of an episode. There were a few episodes where he wasn't the main focus, like he'd just kind of show up for a little fight, but I felt like, really, I'm upset we never got Luminous and Bushido interacting ever. We never got Raya interacting with Luminous or Bushido outside of like a couple scenes or anything like that. Luminous and Bushido don't really interact with much of the side cast of either other dimension at all. And I feel like it just kind of it makes the show less fun, because it's like I know what to expect with each episode. I don't get like super interesting character interactions or character dynamics anymore. I feel like they kind of scoped the multiverse aspect in too much for what a multiverse show should be. On the similar level, like, I felt like we needed more fun random multiverse episodes, because they always had to, or because our cast were stranded in different dimensions. It was like, it felt like, you know, we have the main Infinity group, and they do go to like the Ant and the Train dimension, but like those are the only two like random fun dimensions we ever go to. Any other time we go to a random fun dimension, it's with one of our other main characters. And I get, when Raya was introduced, him being introduced later on was kind of doing a random fun dimension thing. But I feel like, I don't know, I would have just liked to see more multiverse shenanigans. Like in the finale where they fucking go into an animated dimension thing. Like having a whole anime episode, or like, it seemed like if Project Red wanted to start off and be like, we have this big multiverse, look at all these crazy things in this multiverse, we needed more episodes that were just the Infinity crew off in other places doing random things, not just constantly going back to the same like 3 dimensions. I have seen a lot of talk that the show is too episodic and maybe it needed more episodes or something like that. I think my hot take is I disagree. I don't think we needed more Gavan Infinity episodes. I'm actually perfectly happy with the number of episodes we got. And I think the criticism that it's taking too long to get to its plot is I don't agree with that. Obviously, these are my opinions. Please have whatever opinions you want. If you think it needed more episodes, that's fantastic. I think they just needed to utilize those episodes better. We didn't need, I don't know. I think they did need to restructure the format of the show in order for those episodes to be more exciting. But like, again, have the characters go into other random dimensions. Have Luminous go into one random dimension. I don't know, like, those other side characters don't branch out as much as I think they really should compared to our main Infinity crew on the ship actually going to different dimensions. The other thing with like the plot being too slow, I also disagree with that. I like the way the villains were structured in the show. Just because it was an episodic show, I think it does make sense that each episode did have random villains, and it was interesting because we were going to different dimensions. Like, I'll give them that they did give us a nice fun variety of random villains with their different powers and motivations and etc. And the way they connected all of them back to Death Gavan and Azazul in the end was really cool. Like, I really appreciated how they brought back some of the standout guys from the other dimensions and kind of put them all under one banner, but they weren't working for Death Gavan the whole season. Like, I think that's an interesting little development they did with those characters. Death Gavan himself being the main boss, I think he's a cool main boss. Like, I mean, he looks absolutely incredible. Like, that suit is fucking hot. I just think the show needed more of him. And it's not even like he needed more development or anything, because I feel like every time it was a Death Gavan focus episode, I actually really like the way the story progresses with Death Gavan. Because at first it is just a little episodic, you know, things are just getting started, so we're exploring the dimensions. Once he shows up, it really feels like we're sort of starting to kick things into high gear. Like, there is this looming threat going on. I do like that he has this connection to our main Gavan, Infinity. I think that adds a different like aspect to him, that besides just being an evil Gavan roaming the multiverse. So by the time we get him as the final boss at the end, like, it does feel very satisfying to have him kind of defeated. I'll get to that in a moment. I think the issue for me is that he only shows up in episodes that are completely about him, and then that's it. And that's what makes the show's plot, I think, feel slow, is that, like, we only get episodes that... We really do only get episodes that, like, every so often that deal with the plot, which is fine. I'm not saying that as a critique of the show, but I think you could have sprinkled that into other episodes, or at least just have this guy appear in other episodes. Like, I think he should have been in many episodes just shooting at Infinity, or like, as Bushido's fighting someone, have Infinity fight Death. Like, the fact he only appears in episodes when it's like big plot relevant makes him feel not as big of a threat as, or like, I don't want to say that, he did feel like a big threat, but it just creates this weird like imbalance where it's like, I feel like this is being our main threat. He should be appearing a little bit more often on the field so we can feel his presence. I do want to take a quick second to talk about the aesthetic of the show. So, sorry, I forgot I had these guys too. So, I will admit that the aesthetics of the show have grown on me. Initially, I always did like the main suits, like the main 3. I think they are all very cool suits. I think the roleplay weapons and stuff were like the lackluster part. I still think this gun is kind of dumb. I still think the emotional batteries is like a very weird like idea for toys, and they just kind of plug into this thing's butt and then you just close it up. And like, even I've never really talked about this, but I hate being like comparing a show to a show that just came before as like a critique, because that's stupid. It's not the show's fault that another show came out before it. However, it is very weird that this is just Tegasaur 2. Like, they did 2 years in a row of a changer that's a weapon that doubles as the robot using the gimmicks as heads. Like, that's kind of bizarre. Obviously, they're completely different toys, like, in any other aspect, but, like, just that one specific thing is, like, did rub me a weird way. Now, obviously, I do have this gun, in this guy, because, if you didn't know, I recently just got back from Japan. And, look, this is the same with Zets, because I don't know why Zets is catching a stray. I'm just saying, these were the 2 shows that were airing while I was in their homeland, and look, for all their faults, it was pretty cool to see all of these toys on shelves where they're supposed to be. I actually found this one used and a little bit cheaper, and that's why I decided to pick them up. This thing is cheap anyways, so I just figured I'd get it. I'll just say that maybe my opinions on these toys are a little bit biased now, just because, you know, I got these straight out of where they're sold in stores, not just on a website online. So I'll fully admit that the aesthetics kind of grew on me for that bias. But I did always like this suit because it's a cool red robot armor suit. And I did always like the other guys. I do really like Raya. Raya is like one of my favorites. I think this one just beats him out, but Raya is like very close. So I like the aesthetics of the show. I think they look cool. I like the... I do know that the Jochaku is a reference, like the whole monologue and all that is a reference to the original Gavan, and I think that's a fun little reference to the original Gavan, and I will admit saying Jochaku with the gun is pretty cool and badass. So you may have noticed, if you've watched my reviews for many years, there's no beginning segment to this one, prehistory of Gavan Infinity, blah blah blah. 2 reasons for that. One, I've just been kind of busy. Not just I'm busy, I also kind of didn't have a lot of motivation to make this video. Not Gavan's fault. Things have just been happening. But I do really, my other excuse for that now is that this was a wild ride up to the announcement of Project Red many months before Gavan Infinity aired, and I think it does deserve its own separate video, which I probably will cover around when we get closer to the end of omegahorn or something like that, just because I think, again, there's so much going on with the lead up to Project Red. I think putting it just in this video would be a disservice to that storyline, because it is like a storyline. So we will cover it another day. For now, we're just dealing exclusively with Gavan Infinity. I forgot to show off, I did get the train as well. I didn't get him cheaper. I just figured I had the gun, and I'm like, I should probably get something new here as well. So I got the train, because I think the train is cool, and I do quite like that this and more gear is just a Gavan. I will be doing a full Japan vlog. I have so much footage, so much about it to talk about with you guys. So if you are curious about my experience overseas, do stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. That is going to be on the way very soon. I think our main 3 are, or 4, sorry, I forget Raya is like part of the 4, is that I think they're fun. The thing is, I feel like they're all kind of, well, actually it's just Raya, and despite I really like that character, I think he doesn't really do anything besides his debut episodes, or like any development. Like, I feel like he doesn't have any other big moments, and I feel like that's part of the structuring of the show, like, because he's not in every episode, he can't be in every episode, that they don't really give him a big focus after. I guess he did grow big that one time, but that's not a character development moment. That's just kind of cool. I like the development of Kiki and Setsuna in their individual stories. I just felt like Setsuna, I feel like every episode was about him having no emotions, and like after episode 1 or 2, sorry, they established he does, because he has the Amor gear. So like it was kind of weird that they kept being like hammering home this emotion stuff. And I feel like Kiki also, every episode was about her being happy, and they were good episodes to me. I really like Fade in her world. I think he's a standout character. He's just a cool guy. But it was like, I didn't mind the episodes because I liked Kiki as a character, but it was like, we're kind of doing the same thing here, guys. Like, when are we gonna... Well, actually, they did switch it up when Koto became Luminous. I will give them that. That was a very cool plot line. I think that added to both of their characters. I think that was very cool. Honestly, I don't have, like, anything big to say about any individual character in the show that's not Reiji or Death. Like, I like the Colonel and Agi as plays to Reiji, or like his side cast. I think they were cool. I especially love the Colonel getting that little moment on another dimension. I think that's one of the best moments of the show. Like, it's not a big moment or anything, but they set it up and they paid it off later. Same with Wani Pato. At least with Patron, I didn't really care for those characters most of the time, but giving him that little setup of like, I want to become a Gavan, and then that individual episode where he fights to become a Gavan but kind of realizes a few things about being a Gavan, I think that did a lot for his character. And I'm going to talk about the unique aspect of this show at the very end, which has kind of retroactively made my opinion on everything else much higher, because as I'm talking about it here, I kind of realized, like, I don't love this show as much as I do. What I do love is the idea of what they're doing with Project Red and the finale. Basically, I think from the onset of Project Red, they said they were going to connect their shows, the dimensions. That's why it's called what it is. So we didn't know what was coming next. As we got rumors about omegahorn, as omegahorn got announced, and we see they have M-More gears, or new M-More gears, and omegahorn himself kind of looks like a Gavan. The question became now, like, how connected is Project Red to... Sorry. How connected are individual Project Red entries? How connected is Gavan Infinity to omegahorn? With the finale, it's like almost... What I love is that the finale is... It completes the show. This feels like a completed show. For all my issues that I've been mentioning, it didn't, like, drag on for, like, months. It's barely 23 episodes. I think, like, it's a very quick little season. Then they wrap up all their character beats. The only two things that really weren't, or like that they kind of dropped as like a cliffhanger surprise, is Azazulth still exists. Or, well, yes, Azazulth still exists, but also that the organization is still infiltrated by Azazulth. That other guy who was a red herring turned out to not be a red herring. He is working with Azazulth. And Reiji just disappears at the end of the show. And I've never talked about this. I don't know if you guys know this. I hate when shows end on a cliffhanger. Like, genuinely. Like American TV and stuff like that. I hate... Like, I get it sometimes. Like, it's, you know, if they have a multi-season plan. But, like, sometimes a show will end without resolving, like, a plot line. And I'm just like... What are we... I get what we're doing, but it just annoys me. I'm a child. And they do that here, but I have the knowledge that omegahorn airs in a week. Or today as I'm uploading this, I think. And Reiji's in it. We did get a full confirmation that Reiji is in omegahorn as a bad guy. We don't know if he's undercover, if he's brainwashed. His outfit does look very similar to a certain Death Gavan, which is, you know, very suspicious. But I'll admit that makes me so excited for everything. Because Toei, not just Toei, like, Toei doesn't really do these interconnected worlds within seasons. In a crossover movie, sure, now Geats and Gottschalk's lore are connected. Or Ultraman even will do, you know, characters will appear in shows. Or, you know, the big crossover series. Power Rangers has done similar things. But it's never been like a show ends and it's going to lead into the next one. Like, Reiji's disappearing and now he's going to appear in the very next episode in a different show. That sounds so cool to me. And it's also so cool because it makes everything in Gavan Infinity feel more, I don't want to say worthwhile, but like, you know, all these different exo-layer Earths might play a role in the next entry or the entry after that. Or, you know, I think Luminous and Bushido are going to appear. And that's, I don't know, it's really cool. I mean, like, we always get crossovers and stuff, but it's kind of cool knowing they're not just characters in this one show, but characters in this universe of Project Red, if that makes sense. Now, I don't think that setting up a multiverse and all that should excuse any writing issues or having your characters not interact with each other. Not only that, I think it's unfair to have a show only exist to set up things. I don't think that the excuse that, like, oh, Infinity used Gavan, the name Gavan, as like a catch-all name so they can do something fun with omegahorn, something fun and different. I don't know, like who cares? Like, they could have done something bigger and better from the outset and then move on to Gavan and like kind of get more people interested. But also, I'm not running Project Red. I'm not working for Toei. Maybe they have a big grand plan. Either way, this, like, seeing this multiverse idea of theirs actually start to come into fruition does have me more excited for the future of Project Red. And I am definitely more excited to see what happens in Kakusei Hunter Omegahorn, which airs very soon. I will be covering that in weekly short reviews, plus a big episode 1 review, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel for that. Let me know what you thought of Gavan Infinity, and I hope to see you next time.